Hi guys, I'm Ricky Ontiveros with The Mortgage Guys, and I'm a loan officer. What I do is I help people on a day-to-day to get their financing for their home. Today with me, I have Alex Rodriguez.
Hi guys, I'm Alex Rodriguez from IR Business, and we're gonna have a nice discussion today about self-employment and getting loans.
We are today talking to the people that are self-employed, what they need to do, how do they qualify for a home loan, and what are certain things you must know before you file your taxes. All right, so Alex, tell me a little bit about, I've had a lot of clients that approach me and they already filed their taxes for this year. Now, what they're looking to do to qualify is they want to amend their taxes. What advice do you have for somebody like that and that is in that position?
Well, right now, I would not really advise someone that's already filed to amend their taxes in order to qualify for a bank loan, because it could be borderline, you can consider it fraud because you have to change it so you qualify. IRS and the banks want you to file what's legitimate. Instead, how about hold back, instead of filing, wait 1 or 2 years, talk to someone, a professional like you and their tax preparer, and see the strategy they can file within 2 years of filing.
Oh, that's really great advice, because what has happened is oftentimes, these clients already filed, they don't know what to do, they're in a tough position, and that's the reason why we're having this interview. I think that it's very important for people out there, especially people that are self-employed, listening to this right now and taking the time to educate themselves, that it's really all about getting the right information. And that's why I wanted to bring you along, because you have many, many years of experience. You've seen this all the time, and it's just a question that keeps coming up. So with that being said, what advice, like I know that somebody that already filed, what should they do? What's their next step once they already filed and they already claimed a lot of losses, expenses, and they have a small net, they don't qualify this year, what should they do as far as tax?
Well, if they already know they're making the income and they want to plan to buy a house, I would say hold off. Don't make an amendment. You're actually in a little red water.
Ooh, I guess red flagged.
Yeah. Well, you could
hear that, guys. Don't do it.
And even their tax preparer can actually be fined and lose their license for modifying a tax return in order to qualify for a bank loan, because they're not reporting it accurately.
Got it.
So what I advise my clients, in fact, clients that come to my office and I start seeing their income along with all my tax specialists, they're trained to ask the client, you're making really good money. When you start wanting to buy a house or a property, which you should, please come to me 1 to 2 years before so we can start planning for it. It's a lot safer to hold off on filing taxes whether it's 1 year or 2 years. People sort of stress out, like, I haven't filed my taxes, I have to do it, the IRS is gonna come after me. Yeah, well, they give you about a window of maybe 3 years sometimes before they even start sending you letters like, hey, you haven't filed. So you have about a 3-year window to hold off and file appropriately so that you could look good for the banks. Now, when you file, let's say you file, you qualify, you fund them, it happens a lot of times where people remember expenses they didn't put in their return when they filed. So what do? They amend it after the loan has closed.
Correct.
That's a lot safer. You're not modifying your returns to qualify for a loan. That's completely after. So that's the approach that some clients have taken.
So that's very important to note, guys. She's talking about, you're talking about, what I'm understanding is amending after the fact. So there might be some expenses that you guys forgot to put in there, makes your income look great. And then later on, maybe you did forget certain things. You could add them on later on. That's the right way to do it. I actually have certain scenarios. There's a client that I ran into recently who has been earning cash for the last 2 years, but hasn't filed any taxes. What should she do, or somebody in that position, what steps should they be taking? Because they don't know where to start, whether to file the 2 years taxes, what implementations they have as far as tax penalties. Any advice for those people?
When you start filing taxes as self-employed and you have 1099 income or cash income, it's not going to change how much tax you're going to pay. You have to pay your self-employment tax, your minimum from 45 to 60% taxation, especially here in the state of California. So know that even though you're going to file your taxes in order to qualify for this loan, know that you are going to be paying a lot of taxes now. And that's because it passed. But if you come to a preparer first, there is a tax strategy that can cut that tax liability in half. For instance, right now, someone wants to qualify for a $500,000 loan, right?
Right.
The minimum have to probably make, I'm guesstimating with you, you're the numbers guy on loans. I'm not going to be taking that job. Would say $100,000.
A good amount, yeah.
Good amount,
right.
$100,000 has to be their income, right?
Correct.
Okay, so minimum they're looking at every year paying from $20,000 to $30,000 in taxes.
Wow.
So we're talking about what? It could be about $40,000 to $60,000 in taxes. Now the bank's going to want to say, well, how'd you pay that? You know, if you filed these, well, you can get into a tax payment plan, and you know they allow that.
Right, and then that's another thing I think that's very important for people to know. So only because you do owe this money, this tax payment penalty or this tax payment structure you set up with the IRS, that stuff, that monthly payments actually will be impacting your debt to income ratio or your qualification. So it's important to structure it the right way, have the right person understand where you are and how much you're going to pay a month. I know that there's different ways to negotiate with the IRS as far as what your monthly payment will be, correct?
That is correct. So just to be clear, I'm advising not to amend your taxes to qualify for a bank loan. I say hold off on it, file your taxes, and if you forget expenses after you already closed, hey, there's nothing wrong with amending those because you forgot expenses.
Right.
You know, so that's the advice that I would give you guys.
So Alex, I remember this. You mentioned that you have a tax strategy where you could lower 1/3 of your expenses. Tell the people a little bit more about this, because I think this is that one golden nugget that people need to hear to fully understand how you can leverage filing these taxes.
A lot of people that work self-employed are under the assumption that that's how they're supposed to be filing, always self-employed, because they're not a big company, they're not a big corporation, they're not a Forbes magazine, but it's not necessarily the truth. Anyone here can create a corporation, an LLC, and pay the taxes and reap the benefits of an LLC and a corporation.
Right.
So a client would come to me and say, hey Alex, I'm self-employed, I'm gonna be buying a house within a year or two, what do you recommend? Easily sit down, see their income, and I say, let's incorporate you, because I would rather you pay corporate taxes based on the same income you're going to be reporting as self-employment than pay the self-employment taxes, which is triple the amount you would pay.
Oh, wow.
And banks love it too. It's a lot organized, you're a lot more legitimate. And with self-employment, it's a little bit more sketchy, as you've told me before. Self-employment is a little bit more difficult to qualify.
Definitely, by far, yeah. Absolutely agree, guys. Take note. This is absolutely important. I think that people need to understand, if you're self-employed, you're running your own business. So why not operate like one? Why not do the correct things?
That's correct.
Why not file a corporation or sit with somebody that's a professional that will help you structure this? Like, this is one of the biggest things that I constantly see or run into the industry, where we have self-employed people still getting the high tax rates. You know, they're getting impacted. They're losing a lot of their income that they could be using for their business. Sit down, file it, take care of it up front, and don't worry about it. Like, you guys, that's why we created this. That's why I wanted to get on camera and talk about this, so that people understand their options and know, hey, I'm self-employed, I've been paying these high taxes, maybe there's a better way to do it. Well, this is the way. File your taxes as a corporation, set it up, structure it correctly, and you don't have to worry about it. Another thing that I want to share is that I have a lot of different business partners. I work with a lot of different business partners. The majority of business partners that I work with are realtors, and in fact, a lot of them are self-employed. What would you tell them to do today? If they're watching, what do you recommend them to do?
I would immediately recommend them to create a corporation. It could be an S Corp, a C Corp, and an LLC. Again, you don't have to be making the money of a Fortune 500 company in order to have a corporation, even function as a CEO. Because the benefits that an entity in the United States give you are for even people that are going to be looking at making a lot of money in the future, and you're going to be reporting, like Amazon and a lot of other big companies, losses. You want to report those losses in a corporation. The chance of being audited with loss in business drops significantly in a corporation versus if you're self-employed. In fact, after the second year, by the third year, the IRS is already looking at you if you're self-employed and you have all these losses. It says that's not a business, that's a hobby. You know, you don't want that, right? So, but when you have a corporation, they can't say that's a hobby. It is a legitimate entity. There's a lot of benefits that you could get. Personal liability protection, lower tax rates, control of your tax liabilities. There's a little strategy that we as taxpayers can also use that'll make you look in your tax return that you're filing a negative loss. But for the business, and I know you know about this, for the loan side of it, you can qualify for a loan because they remove what we call depreciation.
Boom. She hit on a really important, guys, rewind that back, hear it again. That's exactly why I wanted to get on this, because the information is there, guys. When we're qualifying people for home loans, you could actually put this, if you're filing now, or if you haven't filed, depreciation can be added back on to qualify for home loans. And I've seen this countless times. Certain tax people do know how to do this structure, other people don't. So be careful who you're getting your taxes filed with, because that could impact your overall qualification when it comes to the home financing. Even if you already have a house, you're making a lot of money, but you want to refinance, that's another issue, because we still, guess what? If you want conventional FHA loans, you will still have to qualify using your tax returns, especially if you're self-employed. And that's the number one thing. A lot of people don't put additional income or expense in depreciation. Helps you in taxes, guys, and it also helps you in qualification. So that's great.
And so imagine, instead of paying the taxes, the expensive taxes as self-employment, you're paying 1/3 of it, grabbing the taxes that you could have been paying and putting it as a down payment. I mean, you kind of want that better, you know? And it's a sad thing that not a lot of people know this. It's not something they teach in school.
Right.
In fact, I wish that this would have been taught to my family members when I was a lot younger, because...
So tell me, what happened when you were a lot younger? You had your family members. What did they go through in order for you to kind of understand the benefits of just sitting down with someone that knows what they're doing? Can you share a little bit about your story? I know we talked about that.
Well, one of the things that I'm a huge advocate for is for small to medium-sized businesses, because they don't have the knowledge or even the funds to obtain the knowledge, because it's expensive. People charge for all this knowledge to be able to scale up, right? Or to succeed in America, right? So when I was a lot younger, I started seeing that if my parents and my family members knew this information that I've obtained through the years, I think we would have had a different outcome. I have an example of an aunt and an uncle who back in 1986, 87, I believe, had $500,000 liquid cash in their bank account, which right now would be equivalent to what, maybe 1.5, 2 million?
Yeah, that's
right?
a lot of money,
Liquid
guys.
cash in your account. Move forward, nowadays, presently, they pretty much squandered it all and actually work for me in my company.
Wow.
So I asked them, you know, with all the respect in the world, what is it that happened? Why don't they have anything to show for?
Right.
And they looked at me and they laughed. And they said, it's my fault because I wasn't old enough to tell them what they should do with their money. And even though they were joking, there's some truth to that. There was nobody there that had the knowledge and even give it to them for free, because again, they're a family of six. A family of six tries to save in anything that they possibly can, right?
Right.
They didn't get educated on what to do, what to invest, how to do it. What would be the way to grab this money and make it work for them? So that's why when I started my business or my company, I got so passionate about. And same with my parents. You know, they probably would have been in a whole different situation if this would have been taught to them back then.
Awesome. And then that's truly I could see like the passion from your eyes, like the reason why you do things. And it's similar to a lot of people, you know, you get in the industry, there's a purpose, there's a why, there's a strong reason. It's definitely, I could see you very, very involved when it comes to transactions, helping people. It's really ultimately helping people, self-employed, whether they're regular clients, small mom and pop businesses like you mentioned. You're always trying to see how you can make their life better because you know, you went through it, your family members went through it. They didn't have this information. Now you're equipped with it. And look, now here we are letting the people know, hey, these options are available. The information's there, guys. Just listen, take notes. And if you have questions, you know, that's why they have our contact information. They can reach out.
You have a very similar feeling about people as well, which is why I'm even here doing the video with you, because
Awesome.
I love what you represent. I love how you really do genuinely care for your clients and the people you're helping. So I'm sure you have, you know, many stories as well from clients that come up to you asking you, hey, what should I do? You know, and it's not available to them. You mentioned one.
I had one client that specifically, she has been working for the cannabis industry as a consultant, and she hasn't filed taxes. So she has cash. She doesn't know what to do. She's a little bit lost, and she would love to know the structure, what to do when it comes to somebody like that.
Well, with that certain type of business, you always have to be really careful, right? Because again, it's state is okay with it, federal is not. So what do? Always have a corporation, have your personal liability separated, giving it to a business entity, and then from there, that's not the only thing she could say she does, right?
Right.
With cannabis business, there's some broad things you can do. I have clients who do CBD beauty products. Right. They have smoke shops. They sell pipes and all this other stuff, right? So with that whole business, it doesn't necessarily just have to be the income of cannabis. She can expand and start reporting the income, creating the invoices, know that the tax on the income, she doesn't have to stress out so much, because why? She's in a tax vehicle that's a lot lower than she would have been if she's self-employed. So I would immediately tell her, incorporate yourself, immediately. And of course, I would always say, hey, always get legal advice, because your industry is a little, you know.
Yeah, that industry is definitely very heavily regulated. There's different aspects, but at the end of the day, the structuring is still the same, and that's something that could help them with that. One other thing that I do have is I asked a couple of viewers out there, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be recording this. What information, what questions do you guys want me to ask a tax professional that will help you guys in understanding how to qualify for your home loan? One of the questions that was asked is, they want to know what's the difference between going to a tax specialist, someone that understands the tax structure of a corporation, and going to, like, let's just say nowadays they have, you know, LegalZoom or something that's online. What's the difference between that?
Well, LegalZoom, I think, specializes in creating a corporation. I personally would not recommend LegalZoom for corporate creation, because my office fixes the mistakes that the people make in LegalZoom. See, LegalZoom is more like, hey, pay us a very cheap fee, we'll send you all the documents and you do it yourself. Right. So the structuring of these entities, it's not something that, oh yeah, I'll just do it myself. I'll read what the instructions that LegalZoom gives me, and then it'll be fine. Unfortunately, because they don't understand the language of incorporation and the governments that put them there, I even feel like sometimes they put it a little bit hard for a reason, right? But they don't actually file it correctly. So I have people coming to my office, they say, hey, I created a corporation, I did it in LegalZoom, and I'm just like, okay, did you file a 2553? Did you get your EIN? It's like, yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I have it here. I'm just like, okay, maybe you didn't do it correctly. I'm looking at it, and so I end up correcting it, and they end up paying a little bit more that they would have ended up paying if they would have just come to me in the first place. Right. And not do any of the work. Just wait for their time to come and give them their corporate book. Very easy. Again, if you guys are looking out there for a cheap way of creating entity, yeah, LegalZoom is a cheap way. A little dangerous because you don't have the precise knowledge. Right. Now, if they go to, let's just say, TurboTax for taxes, you know, I'm okay with TurboTax if you're a student, if you have 1-2 W-2s, you're really trying to make your trying to come out in life, right?
Right.
And
you're on your start point. You're just
right,
starting off.
yes,
so
and it's
not
it's
really
so
much.
easy. You go in there, click, answer questions, click, done. You file your return. It was a lot less expensive. But when you really start going into tax strategy, talking to a CPA, a tax specialist, it's going to be the way to go, because tax law changes every year. You have to be on top of them. We have to take our courses every year, renew our license, not just renew it, we have to see what's happening. So if you go into TurboTax, they say that's what they do, and then you can always just talk to a tax specialist on there and chat with them. But strategizing it is actually forcing you to pull things out of you, asking the right questions so that we can file in a way that in the future is going to benefit you. That's really what these cheap, quick and easy softwares do for you.
Right.
Is just for, I say basic would be okay. And, but if you're making money, you start doing business, even if your income, if you have one W-2, but your income, you're reaching the 50, 60, 70, 100,000 and above, you're gonna want the strategies. You're gonna want to go to professional. You're gonna want to, it's worth paying for the knowledge and the value that you get from that. It could save you hundreds of thousands, if not tens of thousands.
Yeah, and then that reminds me of this saying that my family always had. And I grew up Latino, Mexican American. Lo barato sale caro, which translates to the cheap comes out expensive. So you guys are over there trying to save a couple of bucks, trying to structure your own corporations from these Zooms, and you missed the point that you need guidance in these things. That's why you guys have professionals. That's why we are here to help out, to structure things. We do all that research. It's our day-to-day. It's what we love to do. So why not, spend that money? It's not even going to cost you. It costs you more to buy something cheap and then later having to fix it than to just have it correctly set up from the beginning, correctly filing and sitting down, structuring everything the right way. I mean, similar, in my case, I get a lot of people wanting to buy very fast. They haven't sat down with me, they haven't structured or planned something, and that usually ends up hurting them, because what happens is they don't qualify on the spot. But at least the good thing is I set them a plan. Like, now we could at least plan for the future, so we could control what's going to happen tomorrow, the day after, and the upcoming year. So we're able to structure and put them in a position where they can buy their dream home or buy their multifamily units. Whether they're trying to buy a single family or up to a 4-unit, they have the resources to reach out and get the information to set it up the right way.
It's true. I mean, I would not go to my uncle or a family member that knows nothing about loans to advise me about loans. I wouldn't even do it myself, just to save the commission of what the loan guy would normally charge, which honestly, it's not that expensive when you see that these people are going to be there for you to protect you. It's really choosing people that are sticking to one trade and working with them, because they master it. You don't want to work with people that don't master things.
Right.
You're going to make mistakes. It's going to be more expensive down the line, just like you said.
Correct. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on the show, for bringing all that information to our viewers.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Ricky, I mean, I love what you stand for, and I'm here 100% I got your back. So if any of your clients or anybody out there has any questions, my information is below, and just contact me and we'll definitely have a consultation.
Definitely, guys, and thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe. I do have a lot of content coming up for you guys. Great information. Any questions that we did not cover today, just know that you can reach out. Our contact information is below. I have my email address, and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, the Ricky Ontiveros. Look forward to providing more value to you guys.